Hey guys, how's it going? Haven't really made much in way of videos lately, so kind of feel guilty for not showing some of the little tricks in that. But I'm out in the garage tonight. It's beautiful out. It's about 6 or 7 degrees. Sun's gone down. There's almost no wind, so it's really, really nice. T-shirt weather, unless you're Neil. Anyway, I'm going to just show you one thing. This is a piece of the front bumper cover that I used on the CHUMP Car. I'm going to show you how I glued it back together, so to speak, or blended it back together. So I got this little scrap piece. That's half of the center section. There were 2 of these, so basically you can tell, take this times 2, that's how much I had to cut out of the center of that bumper. So let me get the paint off of this and I'll turn you back on. Okay, I cheated a little bit because it doesn't really matter. I actually hit it with the torch just to soften the paint and scraped it off, so it put some good gouges in it. And then I took a pair of tin snips and cut it just like you'd have a cut, so it doesn't really fit back together very well. You can force it and get it to kind of lined up, but you can see there's definitely a cut there. So put that as close as I can back together, and then I'll show you how I stick it back together. I don't know how well this is going to work. If you saw what I had the camera sitting on, you'd know why. And I got it zoomed in as much as I can. But what I basically use is, just basic propane, torch, map, gas, whatever, and a scraper. This is it's a fairly heavy duty scraper, as you can see. And see if I can get some more light on the project. And all I do is I don't want to put the torch right on the plastic, so I'm always going to heat the scraper. I'm going to get it fairly hot, almost where it's starting to go cherry. Burning residual plastic off the back side. I know it's getting a little bit hotter. I don't know if you can see or not, but it's starting to get a little bit cherry. And I just take it and hold it in place and just move it back and forth, digging it in to kind of pull plastic back and forth on it. You can see, I think, how fast it starts to melt there. Got it melted back together from the outside anyway. Now I'll just try and smooth it out a little bit. If you do get it too hot, it will start to flow away and out the backside, so you got to be careful. because it's so soft, I could open that seam back up very easily. You've got to be careful. Okay, now I'll let that cool. Then I'll repeat the same thing on the back, and then come back to the front and finish it. I don't know if you can see that so far. But you can see here, right there, it's bubbling. And you can see the little dip right here. I actually started to get it a little bit too warm. So now I'll do the back side. Basically doing the same thing. What I usually do is I'll put my torch on something and just let it run. Then I have both hands to work with. Kind of push it back and forth to kind of work so it kind of stitches it. And I think I've got it so the sides have both flowed together, then I'll smooth it out. And of course, being the back, you don't have to smooth it quite as much. Come up and clean the front. And if I need any filler, what I used when I did the race car, I used one of the sections that I'd cut off. I took the paint off, cut it into strips like little filler rods. Let's see if I can get this closer to the camera for you. In a way, it's like Bondo. You can tell when it's starting to cool off because it's just like Bondo where you start feeling that it's harder to pull. You can see you can get it quite smooth actually if you stop working it at the right point. And you can tell which spot is still molten because it's still a very, very shiny black. And as the heat goes out of it, that spot will shrink. Okay, what I'm also doing is all these scratches and gouges here, I'll see what I can do to smooth those out while I'm at it. Kind of show what you could do if you had a gouge, but it wasn't all the way through the bumper. Once again, I'm heating it almost cherry, just starting to get cherry red. And you don't want to hold it in one spot too long, because it will melt and go away on you. I'll be done. Of course, it'd be a lot easier if it was attached to something because it's flexing around in my hand. Makes it a little bit awkward. Now I have a little hole, or a little spot right there that I've melted a little too much. So I would want to use a little bit of filler. It's just a little piece that I had earlier, so I'll just put that on top. Just lay it there. Because it's a little smaller, it will melt fairly fast. So just get the heat on, start getting it to melt in, and I work it just as if it was a crack. Kind of working it to make sure it blends in with the other stuff. Because the offcut was from the same bumper, I don't have to worry about it being a different type of plastic. I don't know if that would make a difference or not. I have a Cavalier bumper here that I was going to use originally, but I ended up not. So I can maybe try that later at a later date. Okay, now I'm just going to let that cool. And you can see that I've filled the hole. I think you can see that. Looks like it's still there, but I think the outlying areas are a little bit proud still. So I'm going to let that cool off, and then I'll hit it with the DA once it's cool, and show you how smooth you could get it after you did that. Back in a bit. Still t-shirt weather. So a few minutes with the DA after I'm done, and This is the end finished product. I could sand it a little more, but I'm just for demonstration purposes. There's really not too much left on there. You can see it filled fairly well. You can see on the back side where the repair was. Now, let's see if I can do this in a way that I can keep it in front of the camera. But see, it did tear, so I didn't get it quite hot enough. So, just a scrap. I didn't get it quite hot enough, I guess. But the other practice panels I had done like that did hold when I twisted like that. I'm going to zoom this back. There we go. So that's basically how I do it. And I did twist that fairly hard. You know, basically it would be about deflecting about as much as if it was in an accident. So in a nutshell, that's how I do it. So, coming to you from just outside the Slurpee capital of the world, and you can tell, I think we're up to about 14 now. 14 years in a row, Winnipeg consumes more Slurpees than any other city in the world. Which is pretty amazing considering the 3-4 months of the year were 20-25 below. And even though I showed you the temperature there, yes, even on a day like this, we will have our Slurpees. Anyway, gonna let you go. And I hope you enjoyed. When I do a better job, maybe I'll make a fresh tape on it. But that's basically the idea of what I do when I'm going to repair bumpers. And I did heat it up quite a bit faster. And when you saw me doing the stitching with the edge of the scraper, I did a lot more of that on the Z bumper. I was just trying to show you basically the steps I did. But you can do it. Didn't cost me anything because I had those two tools anyway. And I guess if you have a scrap bumper around, you can compare the plastics and use the old bumper for filler rods. Well, I'm going to shut down, take my Slurpee into the house, and where did I put it? Oh, it's right behind me. I'm just shutting things down. I've actually spent a little bit of time outside. Beautiful out, just beautiful. Just a slight breeze. Really nothing to speak of. And unfortunately it's overcast, or I would have shared the stars with you. So I don't know if you can see me. Closing down. You can see some of my poor man's outdoor lighting for my portable garage here. Christmas lights that I don't put on the house anymore. We have a different set. So I'm going to go in, finish my Slurpee, throw this together, get it on there. So everybody, take it easy and have a good one.